Hey you, welcome back. Today's video is going to be a little bit of a different video. We're going to have a look at the lyrics for Film Out and do a little bit of a lyrics analysis, but not so much in the meaning of the lyrics analysis, but connected with linguistic analysis. I thought this might be interesting. Ever since Film Out came out, I was wondering how to contribute something interesting to this song where like ARMY can have like fun with loads of little details, because I've been seeing loads of people, a few people putting up explanation videos for like the symbolism in the music video and things like that. But that's not my strong suit. Like I can recognize and analyze symbols just fine, but there are people that have been doing this for a long time, you know who I'm talking about, and they're wonderfully perfect at it, so I'm going to leave that up to them. Plus I've not finished with the storyline, so that wouldn't make any sense for me. But since my major at university is Japanese, I thought I could do a little bit of a linguistic analysis of the lyrics. Now, before anyone in the comments says something like, who do you think you are? Do you think you're better at Japanese than the official translators? Because I know this can be quite a tricky, sensitive subject. I want to say here, no, I don't think that I'm better than the official translators, obviously. That being said, I've studied Japanese for more than 10 years now. I'm studying it at university. I know a lot about the grammar, like the grammatical structure of it and everything. So I thought I'd put my 2 cents in and just analyze the lyrics, analyze the translation, and see maybe why the translators chose to sway a little bit from the Japanese, maybe to make it sound better, and so on. So let's start, shall we? I know not everyone's going to be interested in this, so if that's not your cup of tea, you can just watch something else, go back to my reaction videos. But if you're interested, let's start. Ukabiyagaru kimi wa. So the official translation for this is you in my imagination. If we look at the Japanese words, ukabiyagaru actually means drifting to the surface, and kimi means you. So literally translated, this sentence actually means the you that drifts to the surface, and I would think in brackets, because it's not spoken here, of my mind. I think that's quite interesting that they chose here to say my imagination, because the imagination is something that you imagine. Obviously you can imagine things that aren't real. So I understand why they would choose this, but at the same time I think it is a little bit of a different nuance, because the you that drifts to the surface means more like, I know that's not an elegant translation, and that's probably why they search for something that sounds better, but it means more of a real person. So the person that drifts up comes to mind as in a person that you have in your actual memories. Now let's move on to the second part that I thought was interesting. Te o nobasu tokoro de. Te o nobasu tokoro de. The official translation says, but I reach out my hand. Now this is completely valid, but actually there is a grammatical structure here that is not so easily translated into English. So tokoro as a noun means the place. But if it's combined with a verb, so nobas is the verb here, and we put tokoro at the end, actually it's grammar. If tokoro is combined with the dictionary form, like here, it means just about to do something. So for example, let's say the verb taberu, eat, taberu tokoro. Taberu tokoro means I'm just about to eat. If you then use the present progressive form of that tense, tabeteru tokoro means I am eating. And if you use the past tense, tabeta tokoro means I just finished eating. So by that logic, this actually can be translated to as I'm about to reach out my hand. I think it's a conscious choice here, though, that they said I reach out my hand, because it conjures up a better image. You know, the image of someone reaching out his or her hand and the other person disappearing is stronger than the image of someone doing nothing and the other person disappearing. But at the same time, it has a little bit more of a fragility about it if you say, as I'm about to reach out my hand, because you're not even reaching out your hand yet. You're just thinking about reaching out your hand, and you're in the process of just about to do that, and the other person already disappears. It's even further removed from that person. You reach out your hand, you almost touch them, they disappear. But if you haven't even reached out your hand, you're just about to, but even just the thought of wanting to reach out your hand and just about doing that makes the other person disappear. Now, I know that this is very like nitpicking, but I thought it might be interesting because my linguistic brain is kind of like really fascinated with that aspect of language. So let's move on to the next one. ふっと消えてしまう. ふっと消えてしまう. The official translation says, and you suddenly disappear. Yes, that's completely right. Here we have another grammar though, 消えてしまう. しまう as a verb means to put away or to tidy. But if you combine it with another verb, 消える here, 消えてしまう, it can mean two different things. It's grammar again, and it can mean either completely or unfortunately. So you suddenly unfortunately disappear, or you suddenly completely disappear. I would opt for the completely here because it makes more sense. You completely disappear. But because that is also something that is often not translated into English or German or whatever, because it is a characteristic of Japanese that kind of is very unique to the language and loses its meaning if translated. Because obviously disappearing, someone cannot disappear halfway, somebody always disappears completely. It's completely understandable that they didn't translate that because it wouldn't sound very smooth. And it's not needed here either. But I just thought it was interesting. Now, the next one is a rather long one. 淡々と降り積もった記憶の中で君だけを拾い集めてつなげて. The official translation reads, From all the memories stored in my heart, I gather up the ones of you, link them together. 降り積もる actually means to fall and pile up. Tantan means maybe softly, can be translated as softly. So from all the softly fallen and piled up memories, because kyoku is memories, I pick up only yours and link them together. So it is very similar, but they added the stored in my heart here. There is no mention of heart anywhere in the Japanese version, but I think that they did very well here because it adds more emotion rather than saying from all the memories, you know? You have to kind of add something to give it that little bit of something. At the same time, I think it's interesting to say fallen and piled up memories. It's an interesting way of putting it because it conjures up the image of softly falling snow, you know? And your mind being something that accumulates memories over time. Memories kind of just softly fall and gather up in your mind as time goes on. And it is it's much more metaphorical. The next one is a short one. 君を確かめている. 君を確かめている is translated as I feel you. But 確かめる actually means confirm. Obviously, you cannot translate it as I confirm you, which is probably why the translators chose to say I feel you. Before that, it says with every burst of pain, and then it says I feel you. But every burst of pain reminds you of that person's existence. So I would interpret it as with every burst of pain, I confirm your existence. But I think I feel you as a translation makes more sense here because it is less stiff translated, I would say. Now the next one is the only part of the translation where I don't understand why they chose to do what they did. It says, 優しすぎる君のまま笑ってて欲しかっただけなのにそれなのに And the official translation says, just wanted you to stay the way you are, kind-hearted, always smiling, but 優しすぎる actually means too kind or too gentle. The way you are, too kind or too gentle. And then there's kind of like the next sentence where it actually says 笑ってて欲しかった. 欲し is something that you use if you wish for something. 笑う means to smile or to laugh. So this actually means I just wanted you to be smiling. I just wanted you to be laughing. That's the only thing I wanted. それなのに. That's the only thing I wanted, but. So the official translation kind of says, I wanted you to stay the way you are, kind-hearted, always smiling. But the Japanese version, the actual lyrics don't say the way you are, that the person that they remember is always smiling. It says that I wanted the you that is always too kind to smile. I don't know why they chose that lyric, maybe, or why they chose that translation, maybe because it was easier to put into a sentence, but I think this one actually has quite a gap because the official translation says that that person was always smiling, whereas the Japanese version says that person wasn't smiling and their only wish was for that person to smile. Then the next point is やっと今君の隣まで追いついて. It's translated as I've barely made it by your side, which sounds wonderful, and I think it is artistic freedom to turn the translation into this. But it actually means やっと doesn't mean barely, it means finally. So I've finally caught up to your side, which is interesting because it kind of conjures up a different image, one of someone always trying to chase that person in their memories and finally having caught up to them. I think it is a slightly different connotation to it. Now this one I thought they did very well and was very like clever the way that they solved it. It says 何一つ消えない君を抱きしめて眠る. I fall asleep with you vivid in my arms. 何一つ消えない actually literally translates to nothing disappears. Not one little thing disappears. I fall asleep with you in my arms. So the 何一つ消えない part, the nothing disappears part, they translated into vivid. So they kind of swapped it. They were like, this doesn't sound like a good flow, so they integrated it as vivid, which I think is very clever, and it carries on the intended meaning, and it sounds lovely as well. And the last part that I thought would be fun to analyze, 嗅いでしまった香りが触れた熱が残ってるうちは. They translate it to the fragrance I smell, the warmth I feel, as long as it lasts. Here we have the grammar again that I mentioned earlier, しまう, but it's actually in the past tense. 嗅いでしまった. So that indicates that it's a past tense used here, not present. So not the fragrance I smell, but the fragrance I smelt. And then it goes on, 触れた熱が, the warmth I feel. 触れる actually literally means touch and not feel. So I would opt for the fragrance I smelt, the warmth I touched. But then the warmth I touched doesn't really work in English, does it? So I understand why they made it into feel here. And then as long as it lasts, it's only a small nuance, but 残ってるactually means linger, to stay behind. So I would opt for as long as they linger. The fragrance I smelt, the warmth I touched, as long as they linger. Anyway, this is just my 2 cents to this whole thing. This concludes the lyrics analysis. I thought I would try this out since I love analyzing, I love languages, and I'm just interested to see why people make conscious choices to diverge a little bit from the original, to make it sound more natural or more flowing in English. This is in no way, not even 1%, me criticizing the official translation. I think the official translation is wonderful, and this is just me trying to kind of add something to the fandom. If people are linguistic nerds, language nerds like I am, to kind of give more of an understanding and understand the lyrics better. So I hope you enjoyed this. Let me know what you thought of it, and I'll see you in the next video.